There we go.
No.
One extra click, and we got there. Just took a little minute to figure it all out. Hello, everyone. Welcome, archaeologists. It's Sunday night, and that means it's time for the Weekly Dig. For anyone new to the stream, this is a live show where we dig into anime old and new. I am Brent. These are my fabulous co-hosts, John.
Konbanwa, Mina.
And Steve.
Hello.
We will start our dig tonight. And yes, we're going to partake a little bit tonight. Nothing to do with the show. I'm just kind of getting some stuff ready here. Yes. Let us start tonight by talking about episodes 7 through 9 of Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team. As always, spoilers lie ahead. And this is notable because, for a number of reasons. One, because this is where the show transitioned from its original director to its the director for episode 7. So the original director of episodes 1 through 6 sadly passed away from a car crash.
I did not know. I knew he had died, but I did not.
Yes, he had a car crash. It came out afterwards that he liked to drink.
Oh dear.
Jeez.
I mean, I like to drink, but you know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of water.
Yeah. So might have been a factor, possibly. So everyone, don't do that.
Yes. Please don't.
Please
we like you. We like you. We like you being here with us. So please don't.
Exactly. Not a good thing. So the director who took over, I knew because he directed something I love a lot, Mighty Space Miners.
Ooh, okay.
Which is a lovely hard science fiction series, which sadly ends in episode 2 of like 3 or 4. Yeah. I found out this week why.
Why? Because I enjoyed it once you had recommended. I was like watching. I'm like, "Oh, this is good."
This is what he did immediately after. I think he was literally pulled off of Mighty Space Miners to rescue 8th MS team.
So it killed Space Miners?
It basically killed Mighty Space Miners, yeah.
Damn it! Wow. Can't you have both? I want to live in a world where we have both.
Exactly. Come on. Why not? But, no, sadly not to be.
Well, now that with this much time has passed, now it's time to revisit Mighty Space Miners.
Yeah, there we go.
Finish it up. Come on.
Except that the new director passed away in 2010. But anyway...
well, thanks for raining on my parade.
Maybe John, guys, I'm going to sit in the corner now.
Exactly. But let's talk about 8th MS team. So we've got some stuff to talk about here because there's some coolness here.
Yes.
And it definitely feels like that point where things start to shift rather for the OVA. I don't know about you all, but I felt like really up to episode 6 was kind of building.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And now we're really starting to execute on that building.
And I still have a hard time like feeling OVA because there's 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of fleshing out to be done. And I'm still stuck mentally in the OVA being like, oh, it's only 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, whenever we talk about this, the MS 08 team, it's like, I just don't feel it feels like an OVA. It feels like a season. It's a season.
Yeah.
Like,
it would have felt so weird. And the odd thing about that is like this took a while to come out.
Yeah.
So it's weird thinking back to, and I'm pulling it up now. Whoops, that's the wrong link. January 96 to July of 1999.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's how long it took.
Wow. Damn.
And again, I think that is partly so. It's January 96. They did 2 episodes. Same day. March for episodes 3 and 4. Then October for 5. December for 6. Then October the next year for 7. December.
Holy.
February, July. Yeah. So
Wow.
There was somebody in the Gundam franchise who said, I'm not letting it go. I'm not letting it go.
Yeah.
We're gonna finish this.
If we just turn the tap on, just one drip at a time, it'll keep people thirsting for more. Like,
exactly.
Oh, I think at some point I would have screamed and been like, ah! Now, damn it.
So yeah, it took something like 8 months between episode 6 and episode 7.
Oof.
Wow. Okay.
But then they started coming out, October, December, February. So that not too bad.
Still.
Yeah. Rough stuff. To give you an idea, July 25th, 1998 for episode 10, first parter. April of 1999 for the second part of that two-parter.
Oof.
So again, like 10 months to get the resolution on that storyline.
Which again, for Gundam hardcore fans, that was nothing for waiting. But
sure,
modern fans, might be a little hard to take.
Little difficult.
Just saying.
Yeah. So here is the this is the famous bathhouse in the Andes episode.
Yes.
And I do like the kind of the structure of this episode because we cut back to kind of what's going on with Zeon, but then we kind of smash cut from there into like what was happening at the end of the last episode.
Aina getting naked. I mean, yes,
not yet.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because at the end of the last episode, we saw them in the desert. Shiro was grappling Aina's suit, and we just kind of stopped there. So we get to see what happened as a result of that, which was not good for either of them. It turns out. And I did kind of really like the concept of this, that Aina does a really smart thing. She goes really high and out of the way, where like she's going to be out of the range of any of the mobile suits. A good sort of hiding spot. But then the her own mobile armor starts to malfunction.
Yeah.
And
I also like the fact that we go from the desert. That's the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, so it gives you a good appreciation if you like really dial into it. It's like, okay, so we've probably gone from like the deserts of like Tunisia to like, this thing's moving fast. Yep. This is not like, we're just up this, like, by Kilimanjaro. There's just a little off of it. No, they've traveled like a significant distance to get to like the Andes or the Alps, not the Andes. Yeah. That'd be a hell of a trip. You know what I mean? So it's like you get this concept of like, this thing is not just giant, it's also really much faster than you anticipate.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Shiro's obviously much more tenacious, hanging on for dear life on this thing.
I mean, when he crawls out of the cockpit and he's just like, okay, I'm going to climb up the top. I'm like, wait, you're 30,000 feet up. You're 30,000 feet up. Like I would so be inside the cockpit going, nope. We're landing before I come out of this.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah. And he's very safe. He goes in and tethers himself to the mobile suit that's hanging on the outside of the ship. So, he's anchored. And if it dislodges, he's totally screwed. But safety first, right? Safety first.
Yeah, like we said, it's one of those things where you think, well, what else do you do?
Yeah.
Make some forward progress.
Almost falling off, but forward progress. That's the thing.
And it's actually a good example of kind of Shiro's general personality, where it's like, okay, I'm in the situation. What do I do?
Yeah.
He's very pragmatic to, all right, I don't care how bad it is. I got to figure out some way moving forward.
And I enjoy the fact that as he is crawling up the side of this monster machine with apparently like slick-soled shoes, but regardless, he at one point there's a foreshadowing moment where he grabs onto an aperture and he goes, anti-personnel device.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And the pilot's not using it. Okay, I'm good. Like, that's a foreshadowing of like, so Zaku's have an anti-personnel device. Okay, gotcha. Okay, this is something we should probably pay attention to going forward.
But when you stop and think about it, that kind of makes sense. When you're talking about terrestrial, like when you bring the Zaku's out of space and you bring them to Earth or inside of a side, and you want that anti-personnel because literally what's one of the things that the guerrillas are really effective at? Oh, we're just going to jump on the shoulder of your thing, and then we're just going to lob grenades at you until you go away, and then we're just going to jump off. And,
Kiki with Shiro when she's looking in his viewfinder, she's literally like sitting on the cockpit hood, looking at him. And it's like, okay, you've got this is an issue that certainly, if we talked about World War II, things that are referenced in the show,
right?
One of the things World War II that you have a coaxial machine gun or a bow machine gun is not only to defend against infantry that are like coming at the tank, but also to do things like follow behind a tank in front of you and spray it down because the machine gun doesn't do any damage to the tank in front of you, but it stops infantry crawling on your tank.
Right.
So it's like anti-personnel devices. Same kind of concept. It's like, I don't have anybody to shoot, machine gun around, just defend me. So I'll pop these things off and do terrible damage. Terrible damage.
I just would have loved to have seen the electrified button, or the button to electrify the thing. Just like, people crawling all over.
Yeah.
A bunch of people fly up.
Which I mean would be, you think about it, it's like, this is futuristic. You could electrify the shell. We've seen it in other shows where they've done that. It's like, okay, good on you, Gundam. You didn't actually go with that. That's kind of a simple out. Like, you actually went with a much more pyrotechnic response. So good on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pyrotechnic. I can just imagine it now, like you're a Fetty soldier and you're climbing up a Zaku, and suddenly you hear like heavy metal music, and they're like, "Oh no, it's the pyrotechnic display."
Yeah, and that's the time when you pee your pants and run.
Effective reprise.
Oh, here it comes.
Rammstein. Oh no, not the Rammstein.
No. God, it's gonna go terribly south from here.
Du hast.
Du hast.
Exactly.
Du hast mich gefragt. Okay. Anywho, going on.
So he goes. He reconnects with Fina. We get the lovely thing there, and Ina rather. Apologies. And
she is Fina, but yes, Ina. Yes.
And again, it's one of those things where because we had episode 1, like this makes sense.
Yes.
Right.
They've been together. Like they're always in different parts of the war, but they're in this crisis together. Okay, gotcha. Put that aside. We work together to kind of figure out what to do next. We get some lovely sort of engineering here as they're trying to get down.
And I love the continual message about sides don't really matter.
Right.
It's like, oh, we've got this giant machine from Xeon that's going to do all these terrible things to the landscape for the Fetties. We got a Fetty machine. This could be a knockdown, drag out fight. No, the end of the day, besides your sides, they're both two human beings that have to survive. And it's like, okay, this message is like very clearly translated through this entire.
And it's nice that they walk away from the trope of, we will take this to the end for the greater glory of, but to your point, my side. So we're not going to do that. Both of them are just like, I would like to wake up tomorrow. So let's do the thing and just let's forget about this for a little bit. And, let's just, figure out how we're going to, let's figure out a way that we can get down so we can worry about that thing later on.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see from that concept how many times you see that replicated across a lot of different fandoms. You see that it immediately made me think of the time where Picard in Next Gen is with Picard at Tanagra. It's like that weird kind of episode where he doesn't know how to communicate with the opposition commander. And they both have to learn how to communicate with one another to achieve a common goal to survive.
Right.
And it's like, this message of like the element of survival isn't necessarily about you being the one that survives. It's about understanding the higher element of it, where it's like everybody actually can survive, that we can come together beside our differences to make a difference, that we can make it. Like, okay, I got you. Clear message, Gundam. Thank you.
Definitely, absolutely.
And a bath scene. Yes.
And a bath scene, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, not gonna
A little
complain.
payoff there. Thank you.
I did find that hilarious that you like throughout the episode you set up that okay, Shiro's exceedingly cold, like bad things are happening here, like Shiro's not going to make it. This is not good. And then we establish okay, he's got frostbite. We'll come back to the dream in a second. But that's bad. He's got to deal with that. How is he going to warm up his hands? And then they jury rig the mobile suit to set up the beam saber. And then he gets in, dials it down, puts it down, so that they make this hot water pool. You're gonna have a bath scene. That's where we're going. I gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, as far as like just gratuitous bath scenes go, at least they worked up to it in like a sort of logical element versus all of a sudden they fall into an ice cave and oh my gosh, this is actually a dormant volcano and here's a hot spring. Like
the towels just right there.
Exactly.
At the very start of this,
props for that.
At the very start of this fantastical scene is Shiro sitting on top of his Gundam in the freaking mountains. It's probably negative something.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there. He's just like, I'm just going to sit here. And it's just like, okay, no, you're gonna die. You're gonna freeze to death. I mean, come on. And then we make the hot spring, and I'm just like going, sure, why not? Why not? This is I was half expecting them to like when the first watch through of this, like when they were when he was using the sword, I was just like, okay, he's gonna clear an area.
Yeah.
And they're going to make a little habitat. Maybe she has a habitat that she can bring out, and they're just going to go in there and that closest, because we all know where this is going. And, and I figured that they would inside the tent be like, okay, we're close quarters and we can't really, just walk away, turn away from, the feelings.
There's only one way to fight. That's Greco-Roman.
Right.
Wait a minute. No, hold a second here.
So, but then, you have this. And it's just kind of like going, I'm like, and all we need is little Washu to come out with the sake. Here we go.
Yeah, I would not have blinked if she had said, I have some Xeon wine. Be like,
okay.
Here we are.
Definitely.
So for the fan servicey point dip, at least, we got some, when they were clothed, you got more intimate contact than when they were naked. So it's a very interesting, like, thank you. You kind of took the high road and low road at the same time, where you get the blah, 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 while they're dressed, and then this is just the you're naked kind of thing, and it's like unnecessary. But I thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, that whole little drama thing that she's going through, and talking about her life, and which is frustrating her, and then she does the naked stand up in front of Shiro and goes, I'm not, what was it she say, I'm not a doll, and kind of a thing, and she just does this, and she sure's got the atypical male expression, like, boobies.
Well, it's funny because of the way that he said that about you're like some kind of beautiful doll. And it's just I had a feeling that exact moment. I'm like, that was the wrong thing to say. I don't know why, but that was the wrong thing to say.
Like, very much the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, but I mean, they've done a good job at setting this up to the point where you would feel that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, otherwise it'd be like, oh yeah, doll, she's cute, whatever. But like, you knew the minute he said it, it's like, naturally to the environment that he is in, that what they built up to this point, the way that she is, you would get that sort of inkling, be like, oh crap, that's the wrong thing to say, because I bet her brother has been treating her kind of like a doll this entire time, as like his substitute, because he can't do certain things. And I'm like, oh, and then that plays out. I'm like, well, hot damn.
Exactly.
That's the thing right there. I'm like, I'll be.
Yeah. When he says, "Be my arms, be my legs."
Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, you guys, in the time it took to release the entirety of this OVA, you linked things so nicely back into stuff that these sort of rando comments and her reaction makes absolutely perfect sense. And it's like, that's really cool. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you.
Well, it's one of the things they do in the OVA that I think is very smart. Much of the frustration of some fans is that they narrow the scope. So Mikhail basically is not in the OVA for a while.
Yeah.
And then he pops up here and there. He's kind of gone. Eleanor's obviously off recovering. But like there's a lot of this OVA where we're like, no. Like we have these two characters. We need to figure out what's going on with them. And we're just going to push everything else to the side while we focus on that.
Yeah, Mikhail and Bebe.
Yeah. And we see that, really starting around like episode, that's really the episode where that really starts, where they're like, okay, we can't have these ensemble episodes anymore. It's got to kind of focus for a while.
Now, do you think that is the directorial shift? You've got one director who has gone off from the ensemble element to now somebody who's like, no, we need to sort of rope this in and do a little bit more focus on what we're doing.
It's also... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it was it kind of directorial, but I think it was probably more production, insofar that, they're trying to put this thing together over the span of 3 years. And, but, you're leading up. I mean, you have this ensemble picture, but you have the initial contact of these two. You're doing this thing. And then at this point, you're just like, well, if we go the other route, we're going to be going with multiple episodes before we get to that point. Do we have the time or the budget? Because we're a little over time due to tragedy and slowness. And so why don't we just do the thing that we were setting out to do at the very beginning, which is to show this relationship happening between two people from different sides. And then just having this episode of just going, okay, we're good. Here it is. Bam. And we're not going to be distracted by, Mikhail and his baby and Sanders, not being the Grim Reaper and Karen or whatever. Unfortunately, Elsinore is recovering somewhere, groping somebody, some poor nurse.
Probably.
So I think we almost had to have this particular.
I think it's a combination. I think the director comes in, he's like, okay, I have a slightly different, approach to things, but also like I'm sure they were like, okay, let's introduce the characters, have them for a while, but then eventually get more focused.
What would be interesting is if we could go back in time and actually see what the fans were saying about this.
Yeah.
And because you had this stopgap, and you probably had people who were going like, I don't really care about Mikhail. Okay, and Eleanor was whatever, and they took him off the, he's off the show. We don't have to. Karen and Sanders are interesting, or how whatever that worked out, and maybe did they all say just go, we want a bath scene in the Alps, and we want them naked. That's well, I mean, and more seriously, just was this like a fan reaction? It's going, hey, give us this.
Execute on that romance.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, now that you've said like what the time period is, you actually could have fielded genuine response to it.
Yeah.
So rather than like, I'm going to, throw out a 3-episode OVA, what's the fan reaction? Oh, it's terrible. Well, this is Gundam universe. We're going to let that go. Where that story arc will go. We'll just focus on something else. Let's see what else we can do and see how the fans respond. This one, with that much time involved and the time between things, you're still very committed to the thing you're doing because of the amount of time it takes to animate. But you're right, Steve. You're going to have some kind of input coming back. So that you will have, as a director coming in to take this over, you'll have actually some data to work with to be like, well, guys, how about we've already got this stuff in the can. How about we, edit this and we do this kind of thing that we're going to focus a little bit more, zoom in a little bit more, and then sort of drop sort of the flotsam and jetsam from it.
And we know anime can have fast turnaround times. So this could be one of those things where they're like, we've done all the pre-production, all that kind of stuff, but with everything else going on, like we haven't done much actually on episode 7 yet. So we can actually pivot and shift things around as time goes on.
Yeah, that's interesting. That'll be. I would love to know that. That's. Let's get in the Wayback Machine.
Can somebody please translate all the issues of New Type from like 96 to 99?
It might be there.
There's somebody out there who can. I think I would mention the name Kira. With her proficiencies, might be able to do so. And it's a question of getting other primary resources to be able to then do it.
Yeah. We'll see. But yes, then we get this lovely, and can I just speak to the symbolism and just kind of the imagery of them standing on the stars, looking up at everything going on. Just one of the things, like, and they did it in the first half too, but I really feel like in here's where we start getting a lot more image heavy imagery, if you will, where the shots just feel like very composed, very thoughtfully arranged in terms of what we're seeing in them and the symbolism and so forth. And it's a lovely thing as the two of them are really contemplating, why are we here? What's the future? What are we going to do? How is this going to do anything?
And I'm sure this is just my own mental problem. But in that shot where they're standing literally on the universe reflected in the ground, I couldn't help sort of notice the fact that Shiro is very earth-toned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Aina is like, now mind you, purple in the universe is a thing, but it's the idea that it is more spacey kind of colored.
Yep.
So that, it was a neat juxtaposition is like, here you have the layout of the stars between them or under them. And here you have Earth and Xeon.
And even further, he's wearing fatigues. She's wearing a spacesuit.
Yes. Where he's freezing to death and she's like, I'm really comfortable in my spacesuit because it's used outer space. Hey, because it's cold up there. Oh, good point.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because it reminds me of Isaac Asimov's one of the series of stories that he wrote. No.
Sorry, that was Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke. And it was had to do with the robots and the people who lived in space that kept were called spacers. So and they were light colored, lighter skin, lighter hair, that kind of stuff. And the people on Earth were, they were more Earth tone, but they stayed on Earth. They didn't leave space. And it's interesting that you bring it up. I mean, they're both interestingly from space. I mean, he's from a side,
right? Yeah.
He's actually from a side, but I guess genetics that's the way he's put in there. But it's definitely a there's a lot more juxtapositions going on here. He's not Noblesque. She is. He's soldier. She's not. She has idealism. Shiro doesn't have idealism. By the way, he has. I mean, and what I mean by that is that
but doesn't he have kind of an element of humanism?
He has a humanism, but it's not the same thing as idealism. Idealism is that's what we go to war over. He's more humanist, and that's probably what's driving him to do the thing. Is that his ultimate goal is not to win the war; it's to go through the next day to get to the next day.
Right, preserve his people, the folks that he cares about, the ones that he wants to ultimately protect.
He hates Xeon though.
Yeah, we get that clear in that dream.
Yeah. And but for her, what I mean by idealism is more along the lines of this magical outcome that we're going to have at the end of it. And she's idealistic and just like things will be okay at the end of it. His is more pragmatic of going, things are going to be really messed up at the end of this, and it's going to be problematic. But if we can just figure this part out, then we can move forward. And one of the interesting things is that we forget that because Shiro is from the sides, he actually has more in common with her than he does with his fellow troopers, which we find in the next episode.
Right. Yeah, I by the point that we got events going on at the end of their stranding, the more I really liked Aina, and the more I got really sort of deeply unsettled at the fact that she's gonna die, isn't she? You know what I mean? Well, because she just seems like someone who is not only is she a brocon, but she's sort of developing as her brother notes. You're dressing more feminine, right? Almost as if a woman who is in love. And it's like, are you telegraphing to me that she's going to make choices, not fighting Shiro, but in fighting this war, like we've seen Shiro deal with his own ideologies and how they affect that he has to overcome, but how they affect his combat ability. If she makes similar mistakes, she's going to end up dying, and then it's going to be tragic, and I'm going to be like angry.
I will disagree with your use of the term mistakes.
Oh, but you're not disagreeing with the dying. Oh, come on now. Don't do this to me.
So I think at the end of this particular episode, speaking of choices, at the end of this episode, when the Fetties are coming in to grab the ship, she has no problem flipping that switch.
No. Yep. Not at all.
Yeah, and he does. And what I love about the end of this episode is that I don't think there is any exposition. It's just, it happened. He's horrified.
Yep.
She's just like, oh, I had to do the thing.
Yeah. She doesn't even say, sorry, I got to do this. Click.
Yeah. Please forgive me. I have to do this. Yeah. She just does it because in her mind, it's just like, oh, well, I got to destroy the thing so that my brother doesn't get in trouble, whatever. And she's not thinking about the lives that are being snuffed out by the course of her actions. As a soldier, he's very well aware that every time he pulls a trigger, theoretically someone dies. He feels that keenly.
I wouldn't argue that she doesn't think about it. I think she thinks about it, but she just does it anyway.
Yeah, she's not in a debate.
Oh, she's not cold-hearted. No, that's not what I meant.
She's not going to have a discussion with him about what is right or wrong. Right. She does the thing because
she's mission-oriented. She's
Yeah.
mission-oriented at that point, and it's just like, oh, this can't happen, so I got to do the thing, because we get that wonderful 15 seconds of her setting it up.
Yep.
Which when I saw that, I thought that was going to be the first thing that was going to happen. So it's
I thought when the first run through,
she's putting things up. I'm like,
she's gonna blow it.
Yeah, she's gonna like set the whole thing up. She's gonna set the timer. She's gonna descend, help him out, do the thing that she's got to do, and then while he's like, "Oh my goodness, thank you for not letting me die," boom, the whole thing goes up, and he goes, "What did you do?" And she goes, "Nothing. Just got rid of the thing."
Well, and I'm sure that was her plan.
You think?
I'll bet that's what she was planning on doing. Like, okay, I've got to make sure this is set up, for the future. But now, dang it, he's out there. I gotta go do something about that.
I think you're right, Brent. I think that was the intent. It was just bad luck
that she got delayed.
That the Fetty ship, the Fetty ship actually showed up, and I think she was hoping that, like before, the Zeons would show up prior.
Okay, so the immediate destruction was more the consideration for her brother. They'll come get it. I have this set up in case the Fetties come up.
I'm sure this was a protocol.
Yeah.
Right? If you crash, you set all this up, you prep it, and then you call for help. We will come, but just in case, everything should be switched on and armed.
She's not intending to kill people.
Yeah.
But
She's just
when she
intending
does
to destroy
it,
the technology.
right? But once she does it, she's not exactly horrified.
No.
That people died, but he is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The reason she has white hair.
She's cold and heartless.
Cold,
No,
exactly.
no.
Yuki Onna. No.
Exactly.
But that is kind of what they're setting up here. Is that Shiro has this very angry face as she's leaving, while she is standing, and obviously she's heartbroken, but she misses leaving him. She doesn't want to leave him. That's what she's feeling. He's processing all these emotions around death and war and all that kind of stuff.
Well, sort of like during his court martial, he's trying to
indeed
figure out how does he feel about things. How does what does the high command think of what he's done
exactly,
and how do they sort of jibe these things together for him to continue to be a command officer?
Yep,
or a command ensign.
Let's talk for a second. I need to make a point about this whole setup here of Shiro and the giant video screens of the people.
Seeley? What?
Superman?
Seeley?
The first episode of 8th MS Team aired a few months before Evangelion finished airing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by the time this came out, Evangelion had been out for a little while. And so, yeah, I think this was definitely an Evangelion reference right here.
Well, you want another weird reference, and I'm not quite sure what connection, if possible, is. The big fat dude on the left, he looks exactly like the commander of the Southern Cross. So, if you think of Southern Cross as it relates to Robotech as being like the Masters series from Robotech,
right.
The Southern Cross the commander is a big fat bald dude who looks almost exactly like that. So whatever that series was that Masek incorporated into Robotech, that it's like the same dude. Like, I don't know whether this was a time frame that people were like, yeah, big fat bald guys, that's the thing to do. We're like, I don't know.
Well, I would say he's more a reference to the big bald dude in Zeta Gundam.
And I have no idea like how influences work because Southern Cross, it's like the same guy. It's like, oh my goodness. Which could be
I see the reference. I see the similarity.
It's like it just might be that was like most threatening. Somebody who looks like Kingpin. Yes, let's go with that.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe.
Yeah.
But as the first thing I saw him in like the uniform, it's almost the same. And I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
Strange.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Definitely. And yeah, we get the scene with, you're dressing more like a woman, but also note she's wearing black.
Yep. Mourning.
Yep. A little bit of symbolism there, just saying. And it's really interesting seeing how her brother reacts to all this. Because Gineas is clearly pissed off, but also, in fairness, so to speak, he isn't screaming at her. He isn't, throwing her against a wall or anything. He's just like, okay, what have you done? Like, how have you jeopardized this? What's going on here? He's upset. I was waiting for him to go into full, abusive boyfriend mode.
Yeah. Me too. I was waiting for he can't love you like I love you. Like, oh crap. Here we go. Syscon. Brocon means Syscon. Neat.
No, please,
Wonderful.
no.
Let's not go there. Let's take the high road on this one.
But no, he's worried about this, how this jeopardizes his project.
Yeah. Which, I mean, in all fairness, thank you for taking that road.
Right. Exactly.
That his prototype, his like one-of-a-kind machine that they're now trying to do other things to remake, his one-of-a-kind machine has been destroyed.
Yeah.
And his pilot is his sister. So he can't go completely off the reservation screaming like shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? He's like, you could feel a lot of that internal conflict where it's like, you've jeopardized the mission.
Yep.
You've jeopardized what I'm trying to do to establish us as a family to be so important in the hierarchy of Zeon.
Yep.
But I can't go crazy
Mm-hmm.
because I need you to be the pilot to do the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
But damn, I want to punch you. Like, wow, y'all can make that really well.
It's so Brent. Now that you said that, I didn't know the timeline between Evangelion and this. I'm thinking if you put glasses and the glare on it, and with that he's Gendo.
Absolutely.
Gendo Akari.
Definitely.
They should have just had him offer her a glass of Tang. Would you like some orange fluid? Oh God,
no.
And I mean, you certainly could say, we have a girl with short light blue hair piloting a mecha. And this very intense guy doing it. And again, I'm sure, this is in pre-production. Like there was no crossover. Like,
right.
Yeah. They couldn't have known. But it is kind of funny how things sometimes work that way.
Yeah.
Well, quite honestly, if I was on a date with Ray or Ina, I'd choose Ina because Ray, no offense to Ray, she's just like a, poster. Nice to look at, but not really very much interesting. So
yeah, I'll take some of the more fan fiction-y Rays over the quote unquote real one.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, while he's having the calm, seething rage, malt liquor
Meltdown
rage thing going on inside of him, meanwhile, when Shiro is going through his inquest, and keep in mind that this is just an inquest. It's not actually a trial per se. But
it's not a court martial yet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're trying to figure out what to do with him. But I think the thing that saves him is the one moment where he does his little speech.
Yeah,
and everybody laughs at him.
Yeah,
and his commanding officer goes, "Oh, Christ! Here we go," and everyone's laughing at him. And because these are, to be fair to them, the ones that are laughing at him, to be fair to them, they're commanders in a war, and they're listening to this little really young guy telling them how to do it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And even the guys who are,
don't you understand? War is hell.
Yeah,
oh, really?
and they're like, you think that I don't know that every day when I assign that order that I don't know that there's going to be a bunch of letters that are going to go out the day after that? You don't think I don't know that? And so, when he does that, they also realize that they go, if this is the way that he's feeling and this is what he's doing, and he can't really answer the question of whether or not he's going to shoot somebody in the face, the enemy in the face, this guy is not going to be a spy. We might have to do something with him, or he can't just walk away from this, but we don't have to shoot him at dawn.
Right. Yeah.
we don't have to do that. We're not going to worry about that. That's no longer on the plate. This is now we just have to figure out: do we demote this guy? Do we kick him out? Do we, put him into the toilet brigade? What do we do?
Peeling potatoes forever.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So but yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Other events are conspiring that will sort of push that in a certain direction.
Yep.
This inquiry mixed with what Steve had said, was it last week or the week before? Whenever we talked about Kiki and the village sort of has a Vietnam feel. This inquest felt a lot like what happens when a soldier in a war has an ethical issue, when there are questions that come up that would make you stop doing a direct order because of ethical humanitarian issues.
Right.
And it's like, I started piecing that together. I'm like, this inquest is kind of interesting to the discussion that happened very much post-Vietnam, very much in light of World War II. It's like, what are ethical commands? What are unethical commands? What is the responsibility of the on-the-ground soldier to execute an unethical command?
Right.
What do you do if you are delivered with that? The My Lai massacre in Vietnam was a question of an unethical command from a sub-commander to do a thing. And the people that did it or did not do it, what is the chain of command do about that? If you have a valid order, but you believe it is ethically wrong and you refuse to do it, is that insubordination?
Right.
Is that something that is punishable? So that we're seeing this with Shiro, where it's like you've got situations that are going on where he has ethical questions about the things that are going on, and the difficulty, even if it's funny, about how do you proceed to punish or not punish that, because that requires you to reflect on what you are doing and the things that you are commanding your troops to do. And that this pushback as to what is ethical and not ethical in the frame of war, it takes you into an undiscovered country where you don't, you know what I mean? It's like you can't just immediately be like, shoot you at dawn, because maybe what you're ordering isn't right. Now you have to reflect on that. So it's interesting to get to the end of his sort of tribunal where there's no decision, because it feels like they've had a good laugh, but there's also that recognition of, the broader concept of this war isn't just strategic placements. There are other factors that are ruminating here that we have frontline troops that are coping with. We'll make a decision on what you're going to do with you later, because they themselves have to figure out where is the line in this. It's like that. So that kind of gave me that kind of feel where I'm like, wow, this feels very self-analysis post-Vietnam kind of stuff, where it's like that would be weird for Japan to have a post-Vietnam kind of thing, but they did have a lot of
they were absolutely discussing it, no question.
I mean, because a lot of troops cycled back for R&R into Japan, so this was a thing that people were experiencing.
Well, there's also Japan's involvement,
right? And I mean, it was also kind of world news. So but there's plenty of discussion, regardless of their role in it too.
The ethics of war. It's like, so that this whole thing kind of like gelled in my mind. I'm like, well, geez, man, wow, that's a broader concept. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's what just sort of gelled in my mind there.
And then we get the
Bath
wonderful.
No, I'm sorry.
Wonderful, beautiful, scenic, village, and this is where we get the beach episode is coming up here.
Not so much.
The summer beach, summer vacation beach episode here. He says sarcastically.
Yeah, this is where things go like wrong in so many different directions.
And this is the moment when for those of us, for any time that you plan something, you have multiple pieces and you're worried about one particular piece and you're just please do not work today. And this is what happens when your prayer does not get answered.
Yeah, this is where everything goes wrong.
Yeah,
because of one guy.
And that is really kind of the theme of the whole episode, where just things go poorly.
Yeah.
For the folks in the village.
For
everyone.
Which, in fairness, as we discussed before about the different characters involved in this, the problem child to this experience for the Zaku suits, a good commander should have left him on duty outside the village. You know what I mean? It's like you knew this thing was going to be an issue at some point, and this is a failure to acknowledge the problems in your command unit. Like
Yeah, I don't know that I can fault her too much for that. Given everything else going on.
Yeah. Well,
but she knew he was a problem.
But there's
starvation. So many other problems they have.
But you need a rear guard, somebody who could have been like, you face that direction and we'll get food and we'll bring it back. You stay there. You're the issue child.
Where he stomps on somebody because he's not under their direct supervision.
Yeah, he's just
So here we have a troop of Xeon that, if you look at their Zaku's, they're beat up.
Yeah.
Their shields are pockmarked. Everything is beat up on these guys, and they have the discussion of being, we're lost. And remember, they just lost Odessa, and they're not communicating with any command. They have no command to communicate to. Things are falling apart on their side. They're just trying to get through to the place where they're just like, it's like the last train to Clarksville. You're trying to get to the one place to get the hell out, and that's literally what they're doing. They're running away. And that's and so in doing this, they're just, part of it is that they have no food, they have no rations. This is all they got is their Zaku's, and they're going onto this village, and it's like, okay, we'll just get the food and move on. There's no talk about we're gonna take the village. There's no talk of this strategic. But not in the broader sense of the Xeon strategic. We need to have
it's
this
not a strategic strike.
This is, we're going to show up here. We're going to ask for them food. We're going to get fed, and then we're going to move on, because somewhere's going to be the shit that we need to be on to get the hell out of here. But they're lost. I mean, they have no idea where they are, really. And so well, in manner of speaking, but when they come in, so you have this guy who's kind of just frayed at the nerves, and he's a jerk. And where do you put him? I mean, you can't really. I mean, you need all hands
rear guard in the river.
But
there's cannon. He can do all sorts of dumb things there.
Yeah, just
because he can bring down. He can take a pop shot at a Fetty jet and bring down the entire Fetty force on top of him. She has to have this guy near her. She's micromanaging is basically what she's doing. She wants this guy next to him so that she can turn around and say to him directly, stop it. And she doesn't want to be far enough away where she can't be there to have her presence. Because remember, when he does the thing, who is not there? She.
And we've also, and I'm not defending her, by the way. I agree with you, John, that is, a logical course of action. But at work, if you ever had the one person on your team who's kind of an idiot, what does the boss do? They don't send them far away to kind of do somewhere else. Like, no, you here so I can watch you and tell you what you're doing wrong. And I think that's what she's trying to do. She wants to keep him under her eyes the entire time. And again, I don't think it was the right choice, but I think that's where she was coming from.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't correct stupid.
Right.
She
can't fix
was
stupid. Exactly.
She was making the best decision in a not great scenario, and it just turned out his idiocy was so grand, so great, that there was no way any human, one way or the other, could overcome it.
Yep, exactly.
That's true.
And we talked about this earlier. I just so appreciate the editing and the pacing on all of this.
Yeah.
Where Kiki goes to give him his food, he grabs her, obviously just kind of for spite, just to do it, not for spite, but just because he wants to.
Machismo.
Look
how powerful I am. Look how powerful we are in our Zaku's.
He's just like, well, she's a little young, but I can play around. He does the thing, and it's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And again, the other Zaku draws on him.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I will take you out. She's like, and we have that bit of dialogue where he's like, you're not going to shoot me. And she goes, try me.
Yeah.
Oh, darn, you died in battle. And
I appreciate the way that they have done this fairly consistently through the OVA, where you have, it's not just Aina who's like, wow, we can be cooperative. We can be both people, and we don't have to be sides. But we get to see these kinds of things where it's like, here's a commander who's like, listen, you are out of line, and I will do the ultimate thing that I must do to fix this, including killing you. Where it's like, okay, so Zeon's not just a bunch of robot soldiers who just like abusing human, the Earth.
You're right.
That they have their own complex, as we've seen from Ina's brother. They have their own complex issues. We watch the whole dinner party scene. There's a lot of things at play in this that aren't just so simple as like, oh, Zeon's always like a robotic follow orders, and Earthlings are always like these heroic. The Fedis are always the heroic, like humanistic ones. It's like, no, this is far more complex than that.
Yeah. So I just really love the editing here of where he then flings Kiki.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's like, you jerk. And he goes, I'm going to see if I can find it here. Oh, very much a Hiro Yui shot here, actually.
Yeah, flings from like 30 feet in the air, which is what, 1d4 damage for every 10 feet, and the average
1d6 in modern editions.
1d. Oh God, 1d6 when most like average people have like 3 hit points. Dude, that's a significant, like, violent act.
So yeah, let's go ahead and minimize this and talk about D&D.
Hey, sometimes that's the only way you can understand fall damage.
So, this. But to your point, John, is the one Zeon guy who has the picture of his kid.
Well, can I finish this thought here, please?
Sorry.
I just love the editing here of like he gets, he throws her, and then we smash cut to the villager with the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Just standing there, and we cut back to the guy, and he's like, I know it's gonna happen.
Yep.
I just screwed up.
Yep. And that's it. He's done.
Now, do you feel like when you watch that scene, do you feel like he was going to try to talk his way out of it? Do you feel like that he was like, crap, I'm gonna die unless I do something, but he just doesn't get a chance?
I don't think so. No.
I
don't think his brain was that powerful.
Yeah. I think it was literally, screw this chick. Oh crap! And that was it. There was like nothing in between those two moments.
And I love the visuals, the visual imagery of we do not see him die.
Yeah.
It becomes this very almost abstract thing of we watch the rocket go in, we watch the explosion. It's very clear he did not survive.
Yeah.
But the fact that they make it objective, I think really adds to the power of the moment.
And I enjoy the fact that it gives you such a sense of the size of Zaku.
Yeah.
Because you see that rocket go in, and like as it goes up, when you see him firing it, it's like, oh yeah, this is a RPG-7. It's a fairly big system in here. You're firing it, and it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller as it goes up in, and it's like, oh,
it takes like 4 seconds for that to hit.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you a good appreciation. It's like, wow, this is why the shield is damaged and dinged up.
Yeah.
This thing, if that door hadn't been open, he would have shrugged it off.
Yeah.
And been like, okay, splat, little villager. What are you doing? It's like, no, it's just such a small explosive, and it's the human operator that is the greatest weakness. And his door is open because he's an idiot. And I'm like,
and to that point, sort of tactically, because the villagers are raring for a fight.
Yeah.
They want to take these guys down. What's just happened, the guy's made himself vulnerable.
Yep.
The villager's like, okay, I'm going to take the opportunity now and take him out. And as we talked before about kind of the escalation of in the 8th MS team, somebody does something and it leads to a thing, and that's very much what's happening here.
Which I would have thought they would have poisoned their food, or like, put some kind of sleep medication, or what I mean, something like that in their food, something that would have like incapacitated them, and then they would have been like, "Yay, we have 3 Zakus, neat." Like,
I guess you might worry that they could report it back somehow. I have a poison. Click. Calling it a strike, something like that. I don't know.
Maybe. Or it just wouldn't work. which is
True,
half
true,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
Which happens where someone just gets violently ill and everyone just goes, "Wait a minute, I'm having cramps too. What did you guys do? My finger still works."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this is
Yeah.
where you invite them down to a village party to celebrate their arrival, and then you feed them
Right.
magic mushrooms and then
Yeah.
kill them when they're sleeping.
But
But that's a whole different story.
But this is a great point where you see that rocket go in there and it blows up inside. You don't have to see the guy actually dying. You know he's dead. He's just meat. He's just meat in there now. And it blows up, and your first response is like, yes, you oh, yeah. And then you have the reactions, the various reactions throughout, everybody. You have the Xeon Commander's reaction. You have the 8th team reaction. You have the villagers' reaction. And you see that the people who know what they're doing are all going, realizing everything has gone out the window.
Yep.
Everything. There is no contingency plan. There's nothing. Everything is out the window. Crap. What do we do? And then
Kiki's dad is like, "Oh, what did that fool do?"
Right? Yeah. And that's just unfortunately that's combat, but that's the way it is. But every single leadership position had the same response, was just like, we're in it now. And here's the reaction. I was like, well, the initial reaction is, oh crap, everything went out the window. The second reaction was, we're in it.
Yep.
It's go time.
Exactly. Yep.
0 to 100. Here we are.
Yeah.
And like one of the things I appreciate again is the Xeon Commander is like, okay, we're out.
Yeah.
We are getting out of here now as quickly as possible. This is there's no point staying around here with whatever they've got. Let's go. And that doesn't work out very well.
Ugh, no.
Because what happens, the folks in the mansion try to take him out, which works.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
Takes out the mansion with Kiki's father in it and kind of their headquarters. And again, it's talking what you guys are talking about, the foreshadowing, and when they're talking, we can't let them know this is our base.
Yep.
So they mentioned earlier, like, well, your base is now destroyed.
Yeah.
Whether they knew about it or not, however important this was, it's gone.
Well, and it's also one of these things. You figure that the mansion with Kiki's dad, he's not mobile enough, and his right hand man, that tow missile launcher, is not a mobile weapon.
No.
So they're committing to the age old idea of like, the sacrifice of the one is for the good of the many. You know what I mean? It's like at best they were going to get a response if they killed that one mobile suit. They were going to get a response that they could not escape from the other surviving mobile suit. So this was like the ultimate Hail Mary play, where it's like, okay, fire it off. We got to kill, but we're going to die in this process, and that's going to save many more people.
Yep.
We hope, which it doesn't.
Yeah, well, no, it does. There are people who survive. People survive. People make it. Like,
you also got to appreciate how they get across the weight of the Zaku's.
Yeah.
Because like when the first Zaku goes down, there's that moment where like, it hits, fire goes out, the chest explodes, and then it just kind of, topples like a felled oak down. The rocket hits kind of the jetpack on this. It comes down and it kind of stumbles, right? It kind of tries to readjust, and then he finds his balance and pulls around. And you just really get that sense of massive scale out of these things. Like you say, it's like, okay, here we go. We find out Kiki's still alive. Yay. And her back isn't broken.
Yay.
Yeah.
I was expecting that. I was like, oh, the father, the daughter, there we go. But no, she gets out.
I was hoping for a little moment of kissing, but he just already kissed Aina, so
not the time.
Yeah. We're all gonna die. No, damn it.
Exactly.
I got Skeletor over here who's trying to, defend the village.
And then we get really, the climax of the episode, and really kind of the big moment where it's okay. Shiro's trying to just stop the Zakus.
Yeah.
And trying to just say, okay, we're going to disable you. We're going to take you down. Surrender. And again, that doesn't work very well.
There was a point in there where, and it may not have been this episode. It might have been prior to in the OVA where they talk about thermal imaging. His entire process of hiding from the Zakus to surprise them, there is a reason why there's little bits of fire on top of him.
Oh,
yeah,
because the thermal imaging is going to show up as something other than a human laying on the ground.
Gotcha.
So pretty likely that you would be inclined to step your Zaku over it because you don't know whether it's burning debris, whether it's like burning munitions of some sort, but you're going to step over it, and it disguises the fact that Shiro's under it.
Clever.
And I was just like, my God, that's talk about like deep planning on this, because you hadn't mentioned the thermal imaging for like a little while. We know that, there's imaging issues that they're discussing about how many clicks away they are from the village and how can they not hit the thermal pack, the nuclear packs on the Zakus. There's that kind of discussion, but it's like, we haven't had a thermal imaging discussion in quite a while. And yet Shiro's utilizing that to hide his presence to make an attack. And I'm like, wow, I even have more appreciation for this because so much time passed in the process of making this OVA where it's like, would somebody remember this like 8 months later? I don't even know.
But to that point, I think this is what happens when you have that much time to plan.
Yeah.
You can have those conversations and how would they do this? What would this be like? What about this? What about that? And you can kind of come up with these really well thought out scenes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a brilliantly done scene because I don't think you necessarily would put the two and two together.
No, I had no idea.
As a viewer, to like over the period of time, be like, why is it on fire where he's under? What's the point of that? And be like, it's thermal imaging.
Yep.
You've disguised the fact that there's somebody there. I'm like, smarties.
Yeah. But yes. So point being, Shiro has this moment of trying to save the main pilot girl, and the villagers not having that.
No.
And that is indeed kind of the issue here, is when Shiro realizes, oh, this isn't going to end with this.
Yeah.
We were talking about this beforehand. One of the things I really appreciate is this idea that when she sees this and realizes what's going on, she's like, no. I'm going to get dragged out of this mobile suit and hacked to pieces by these villagers. And so, to your point, John, anti-personnel devices.
Yeah. Which I mean, I think everybody would have loved to have seen a moment where Shiro could have like brought some reason and some calmness to it to then capture her and have the villagers understand what's going on. But it's like, no, that was a lynch mob.
Yeah.
Just pure and simple. There was not going to be literally the only way to stop a lynch mob was an anti-personnel device. And that's just no win for everybody.
No. Well, I mean, back in the village after the initial fight, when he's standing there, he goes, okay, he's trying to direct them.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, it's killing time. And
revenge for my father.
Yeah. And, they all cheer, even the little kid is like, yay!
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right. And you notice when he walks away, he's just like, I have no control over this. And so he knows that, and as he's out there, he's trying to get her to the Zaku commander to get her to maybe surrender, so that if he has her outside of the thing and says human person being thought sentient, not this idea that you have of the Zaku,
or even just my prisoner,
right? Yeah. Mine, Fetty, mine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's going to jail. I mean, she's going to answer for what she did. Here we go. Yeah, no, there was lynch mobs don't respond well to logic. That's not how
Nope.
they work. So.
And so you get again, and I think this is right here, possibly the summation of 8th MS team. This image right here of Shiro holding the missile launcher, tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
But pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Like this is what has to happen because this isn't going to end here. Again, like this is going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Unless he pulls the trigger.
Well, what we talked about when we first started watching this. Yeah. This is the 8th team. This is not the war.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little team in a little part of a bigger war.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Things are not going to, this is not, his not pulling the trigger isn't going to solve anything. Right. His personal issues involved with launching that rocket are his alone. It's not solving the entirety of this war. And it's just like, that's a painful moment to have where you're like, my God, the conscience of the man, regardless of what's going on in the war, the barbarity that continues to happen. It's like,
well, that's why they ask at the inquiry, can you still shoot the enemy?
Yeah.
And the answer is that, yeah, you can.
Yeah. For defense.
Yep. Right. To protect what he loves and what he values.
Yep. Exactly. And so to Steve's point, we get to see the handful of survivors.
Yeah.
Gathered around. And off they go. You know, that's really kind of where it ends. What a wonderful just gut punch of an episode.
Yeah.
Oh, which then moves on to episode 9.
Which didn't in the prior episodes, this village survived occupation by Zeon and with the hillside guns and stuff like that. So this is the same village. So, you know, just to now see that they survived that kind of assault, that wiping out of the big guns, or was that a different village?
Different village, I think.
Different village.
I was gonna say, because it felt like it was a bigger village in the last one, but like everybody in that survived the village. They, you know, like not this time.
You know, that was the one Zeon took over. Because remember, Shiro was brought to Kiki's village.
Okay.
Right.
I was thinking it was like Kiki's village because of the dad meeting the dad.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because that town survived. They pushed Zeon out. They wiped out the hill guns. They wiped out those guys, and the town seemed to have survived fairly okay. It's like this one.
No. Well, they make a big deal, you know, visually of them stomping through the fields at the end.
Yeah.
You know, like okay, that's very symbolic.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, what we've learned from watching the issues that have occurred in Europe currently, you don't take heavy equipment through farm fields because they bog down because the soil's soft. Idiots. Like, don't take Zaku's.
Now, this particular, I totally forgot about this. This particular picture that you have on here, Brent, this is the point where one of them says they have beam weapons.
Right.
And this kind of reminds you that this is still a war of shells, of you know, things of that nature, and not everybody has a laser gun. So
beam weapons are new.
Yeah.
Well, the weapon that the Zaku has right there, if you look at the way it's designed, it's the 120 smoothbore from a freaking Abrams tank.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like very current 20th century technology on that Zaku. I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, holy crap. Is he firing a saboted round, a depleted uranium sabot round? Maybe he is. I don't know.
Could be. And so we go from that to the front line, and oh my gosh, what a way to start an episode.
Wow. Yeah,
so
really.
I dislike, you know, it was all a dream moments, in fairness. But to open with this mobile weapon coming in and to cut to Jaburo base, which is one of the classic sort of locations from original Mobile Suit Gundam. Multiple episodes set here, a whole big conflict set here. Amuro versus Char here, and watch it get just nuked.
Yeah. Like in spectacular fashion. Like, oh damn.
And again, we talked before about following the animation, seeing what the animation is doing. The love and care they put into this sequence.
Yeah.
Of all the destruction. I'll see if I can find a
almost a Daikon 4 love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey.
There's you can get the molten lava coming in from the ceiling. They just really, oh man, they put so much time and effort into this.
So if I was inside that cavern and I was looking up and I saw that, I would be like, whiskey.
Well, I love this is happening, and you hear like,
right?
Yeah, I think there's a problem here.
Small leak.
There's a serious issue occurring above us. Damn it. Watching it, all I could think of, and like the scene that you've captured here, all I could think of is like, wow, this is like classic Yamato.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, true.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
You've got the ships in orbit that are fighting, and it's like, oh, the Andromeda is going up. I only know Star Blazers wise. So Wildstar's brother is there with the captain, and they're trying to. Nope, that ship goes up and explodes. Everybody's dead. Oh crap! The Earth fleet's destroyed. Yep. Planet bombing. I'm like, wow, this gives me such feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know these feels.
So again, it's a simulation. Fair enough. But even there, and again, it's one of those things where it would be easy for this to be a dream, Shiro's dream or Aina's dream.
Right.
But the fact that it's like, no, this is rooted in what's actually going on. Like now the Federation realizes, oh no, like this is not just some random weird weapon that we don't have to worry about. We know it's destructive power.
It's a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. By the way, I looked up the credits that they put on the screen here because they throw a bunch of Japanese names, and it's like a voice actor, like some like line producer. They were just kind of grabbing random Japanese names and putting it in here. It's kind of fun. They all like worked on various Gundam and Sunrise properties, but it's not like here's the director or anything.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was kind of funny because I'm like, what simulation has like credit roll?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, guys. I enjoyed the sort of like ha elbow in the ribs. What do you think of that, huh? I went to high school with that guy. He has no idea I put his name in there. Hey.
And so off we go. And boy, what pacing in this episode where you have everyone kind of suiting up, doing things. You have apologies. You have Sanders with his kind of little moment there where he wants to talk to Shiro, but kind of can't kind of come up with the words to say. And you get a hint like of what he's going to say. Like, we just had this scene of we have going to keep an eye on him. Okay, Sanders is probably the one. We have Karen talking about how she doesn't like, she's very nervous about the drop. Then the drop happens, and just, man, that reveal.
Yeah.
When she goes down and there's a Gao directly below them.
Well, and here's the question I have. It's not an MS knowledgeable person.
Yeah.
Is it the Minovsky particles? Is it why is it that they're flying and they don't see the Gao below them with radar?
Because radar doesn't work with Minovsky particles. That is exactly what Minovsky particles block.
Okay. Yes. Okay, because that is not stated. Because it's like they're doing the drop sequence and there's a Gao right below them. I'm like, holy crap. Did somebody not like look at the radar screen and be like, what's that giant thing right underneath us?
Yeah.
That explains it. Thank you. I was thinking that's what it was, but it's not said. So if you're not really dialed into the world, you don't really know that. Okay, fair enough. So the Xeon don't know they're there because of the Minovsky particles, and they don't know the Xeon are there because of the same reason.
Right.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's why you have so many in these series, so many like shots of eyes going wide of people like, there's something there, right there. We didn't know it was going to be there. Why is it there? No, it should not be there.
Well, isn't it when they're evacuating Odessa and they're and they're talking about, yes, Minovsky particles are increasing, and you see the vice admirals
Yeah,
looking out
yeah.
over them, and you see the suits coming up, and you see the land units,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, so that's telling me that your radar distance kind of judging ability is getting worse as they get closer, because the Minovsky particles are interfering with your ability to use radar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that I'm supposed to apply that continuing knowledge to this situation to be like, oh, how could you drop on top of an enemy aircraft? Oh, because you don't know it's there. Like, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm sure there's a panel out there of Gundam Physics 101.
Yeah. I'm sure. And so Shiro does what Shiro does and drops on the Gao and basically just comes on the front of it and says, okay, everyone, just stop. Just stop shooting at us. We'll stop shooting at you. We're cool. We're fine.
You do your thing. We'll do our thing. We'll go our own way.
Yeah, exactly. And the commander, like, he's ready to fire.
Yep.
And then the engine has further problems. And he's like, okay, you know what? In this situation, like, fair enough. We're both in it, as Shiro says. You want to just both die right now? Like, is that really going to be useful here? Like, that's just kind of, that's clearly where this is going. So he's like, okay, fair enough. Separate. Right. We live to survive another day. And this comes back to bite Shiro in the butt later.
Yep.
And I love how, like, right after all of these things he's thinking about, I'm going to have to save as many people as I can, we have a scenario where, okay, you do that and you give yourself more trouble.
Yep. But it does provide an opportunity to show again that not everybody in Zeon is a mindless automaton.
Absolutely.
Right.
That he's the captain there hovering over the button.
Yeah.
He's like, and then makes the rational human choice of like, if I do this, we all die. Everybody on board dies. If I don't do this, there's a chance I can fulfill my mission. I can rescue the people I'm supposed to rescue. It's like, thank you. I love the fact that you keep giving a human face to Zeon.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we come back to Yuri, who's and again pacing. Got like the Yuri who's sitting there and he's waiting for something, and he's waiting for his supplies, and you realize it's the same shit. Oh,
right.
Yep.
They're the ones coming to him. Crud. If he just taken down that Gao, they wouldn't have gotten resupplied. They would have had to run for their lives, and that would have been over.
Now I'm again another Gundam universe. A Gao is not space worthy. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a complete terrestrial transport. So he's not, the Vice Admiral's not waiting for this thing to go to space. He's still waiting for Aina's brother's ship.
According to the Gundam Wiki, a Gao is an atmospheric attack carrier.
Okay. So this is purely to bring people in, supplies in. It cannot get them to space. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. In case you're curious, it is powered by a thermonuclear reactor that drives 18 thermonuclear jet engines.
Because
holy crap!
It gives it a theoretically infinite range.
Also, theoretically irradiating everywhere that it flies. Neat. Cool.
We've solved that. Let's take science fiction. So we've solved that. It's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Don't worry about it. It's been taken care of.
No flipper babies.
No, it's everywhere it flies. It turns into Sakura petals.
Yeah, right.
Look at the beautiful Sakura petals. They're not radioactive. They're beautiful. Okay.
Designed to deploy mobile suits that lack long distance mobility on land. We can carry 3 mobile suits in the deck from its fuselage, and 4 DOPS in the base of each wing. Yes.
Okay.
So now we know.
And knowing's half the battle.
Exactly. But to your point, John, I really appreciate this thing where, okay, what have they done? They set up this long pole. A guy's gone up the pole with binoculars.
Yeah.
And there's no radar operator. No, it's just line of sight. How do we see? Because Minovsky particles. But yeah. in fairness, and for those curious watching, the whole point of Minovsky particles is to resolve the question of why doesn't everyone just lob missiles at each other from 1,000 miles out?
Yeah.
There's no point in having mecha fight each other without something to mask all that long range stuff.
Right.
Anyway, things go poorly. I think it's kind of the summation of his entire episode.
Yep.
What's the last episode?
The best planned operations go way the hell off the map.
Because Karen comes down, lands, beautiful moment, all good, fantastic, and then
this happens.
As a Gelgoog, if I am remembering it correctly, pops out, and am I correct, or is that a Gog? It's a Gog. There we go. Gog
is a Gog a heavy version of a Zaku? What's
it's underwater.
It's underwater.
It's an underwater.
Okay.
Specific mobile suit.
Okay.
Which is how it could hide down under there because it's a submarine basically.
All right.
Pops up and Karen loses her head.
Yeah. Like a really very good specific attack. Like, oh damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to your point, John, like what's great about this scene is it's not just punch. It's where are all the sensors? Take that out first.
Yep.
And then go for the pilot.
Yeah, once they're blind, they're fairly easy to work with. So, oh boy.
Yep. And so Eldor gets a little moment in the sun to come in and try to stop that. Try to help Karen. He goes in and does what you do. I mean, mecha isn't working very well. I'm gonna hop up and sight for you. Not the greatest moment, but at least it does something while Mikhail is screaming in the hover tank across
driving back and forth across the lake. I'm like, oh boy. Well, I was worried at the moment we had the hold on to the gun and be like, no, up 6 degrees. That was like the exhaust port.
Right.
Like, oh god, this isn't gonna be like you made the kill shot on the Gulg, whatever it is. Gog. And now he's vaporized. God, the ultimate sacrifice. No.
Yeah. That thought came to me, and then I was like, I think Eldor would know.
Yeah, I prayed to God he would know. But he's saving the woman he loves.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
By getting vaporized. Oh.
But no, he comes out of it, and we get a lovely moment between the two of them. As you realize, there are feelings there. Aww.
Yes.
Aww. And they all die a crushing death later. No.
They're all crushed from above somehow. I don't know, an orbital platform, maybe?
And we get a few sort of connecting scenes in here. We find out that the Xeon doctor is popping some pills for the soldiers there, getting into some medication. And this is a reference to what is the medication from World War II?
Pervitin.
Okay.
Yep.
Which was an amphetamine designed to give a trooper about 3 days of unstoppable, unsleeping, uneating energy with horrible, amphetamine addiction afterwards. But that's not important here. If you win, that's all that matters. And that's exactly what this dude's doing. Yep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're pumping these people full of. It's the win that's important. And the people are just, superfluous tools towards that end. Be like, oh, wow.
Why Johnny can't blink?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it gives you a good appreciation for the guy that gets up and tries to help Ina with the grenade. It's like he is crashing. He's just been given the shot, so he's not back up on the amphetamines. So his coordination's down, his thinking is down. He can't do things very well until that amphetamine kicks in and he gets all energetic again. Like, oh wow. Just feels like they drug so many interesting things. They drug so many interesting things into MS-08. You know what I mean? It's really interesting.
Well, the beauty of all that is that this is them showing that the war is not going well for Xeon.
Yeah.
Like they have to do these things. It's the Zaku's getting lost and getting obliterated basically in a village. It's the rear admiral trying to get his men out, and then you have this, and they're just like, we got to keep going until we can get to safety, and then we'll take a breath and reassess. But you can't get there, so everything is just like, we got to move now because where the noose is tightening. When you start making decisions to nuke a place because you can't have it anymore, like Odessa, then things are not going well.
Yeah.
Well, especially when they're talking about they need the resources, they need this and need that. It's like, you guys are, if you do what you keep doing, you're grabbing today's resources and destroying the chance for you to have tomorrow's resources. So you're really getting nothing. You're trying desperately to grab this, go to space. It's like, if you don't have a constant supply, you don't keep the logistics working, you're not going to do this. You're not going to win this.
Well, remember when Odessa gets destroyed, the vice admiral dude, jerk dude, basically just says, why are we trying to take all this mech with us? We need to get into space. We don't need this anymore. The wars can be won in space. It's not going to be won here. It's going to be won in space. Yeah. So we need to get there. So quit trying to put all the Zaku's back on. We'll use what we have up there and go and do the thing. So, but we just need to get. But in order to do that, we need to get our soldiers up there to continue the fight. Yeah. And so he's got the idea of like basically destroy, sabotage what we can't take with us, like back in the day, destroying the cannon so that nobody can use it, or destroy the tank so nobody can use it, and then getting out so that you can turn it around in a place where you can be successful. Because theoretically speaking, Xeon is successful in space up until this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the scene with the doctor is also important too, because I think this is Aina crossing the threshold.
Yeah.
She's in a very difficult position as this test pilot, as working for her brother. She doesn't want to do that anymore. She realizes what's the danger of the brother and so forth. But this is that final thing where she realizes, oh no, this is evil.
Yeah.
Right. This is crossed beyond just bad motivation, and pushing for things beyond what they really need to do. Like, this is destroying lives even on our side, and needs to be stopped.
Now, question for you: do you think this is the crossing the line of her opinion of her brother and his goals, or Xeon and its goals?
I think Xeon and its goals, because the doctor says, no, your brother didn't order this. I ordered this. Okay. And she doesn't seem to disbelieve that.
Right.
I think she's like, oh no. But I think she recognizes that the doctor did that because of what her brother is doing.
Okay.
Right. He is driving this forward because of my brother's directives, my brother's deranged passion.
All right.
And so it has caused this.
So it's kind of dual.
Yeah.
The brother he's gone too far, and Xeon is willing to support that. The soldiers of Xeon are willing to go too far as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I was feeling like it was a general condemnation of her brother and his efforts, but the more we're talking about this, more it seems like, well, it's actually kind of a dawning of like, wow, the whole entire structure is kind of rotten. Like,
yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and then the Gao commander comes back in fine form, I must say.
Yep.
With this fantastic little not sabotage. What's the term?
Ambush.
There we go. And manages to do that. And again, just the animation here when the guns fire and Shiro immediately puts out his shield, goes down. The slight rocking of the camera when that happens, all the little details to make you really feel what he's doing here.
Yeah.
I want a gunpla of that MS in that position. And then just a little, as the guy says, a little psychological warfare of him saying, "Okay, well, you spared me before. Are you going to spare me now?"
Yeah. I'm putting my life on the line. What are you going to willing to do, huh? What are you going to do, buddy?
Yep.
Which I'm still impressed at how much damage that shield took.
Yeah.
It blew off the entire bottom of the shield. And yet Shiro's legs were not sheared off of the actual Gundam.
Yep. Why they have shields?
Now Colonel Sanders, he ends up with a busted leg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there much bleeding? No, the actual Gundam leg. Oh, okay.
You got to take your humor where you can get it in 8th MS team.
Yeah, that made me giggle. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's talking about the Gundam leg, you idiot.
Shiro's got a lot on his mind.
Yeah, he's trying to not get killed right now. Yeah.
And so Shiro, obviously makes a decision, takes a shot, and does indeed defend his. And this is where we get that moment, that line of, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I forgot. I'm here to defend my friends, my people, my squad, my team, so to speak, my 8th MS team.
Yep.
And so the Zeon get their due. And what a great sort of summation of Gineas's personality and where he is at this point, that he kind of locks Yuri and the rest in this this passage, and then just blows it up.
Yep.
So they can't get back. No hero's death for Yuri, none of that. Just dies in the cabin.
Yeah. Which, again, given that, we know that Zeon is a young nation, they're still sort of working things out in the hierarchy of stuff. It's like, wow, okay, so this, it's not regicide, but you know what I mean? It's still, it's like you're killing these people who are, upper class kind of folks, and like, that's kind of clearing the decks for your ascension. Like, interesting. That's not what you really want to have happen during a war.
Nope. Not so much.
So you get people betraying people, where you get people selling secrets to other nations, bad things. You want everybody on board in the same side here.
Yeah.
Well, this is the part where you kind of look at Yuri and you just go, we thought we were going to get more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we were going to get a fight with him. We thought we were going to get something.
Yeah.
When you do the first watch through of this, you're just like, you're getting ready for that fight. That Shiro's going to have that fight, or somebody
with that.
or somebody's going to have a fight with this guy, whether it be Zaku, Gun, whatever it was going to be. But there was going to be a confrontation.
Yeah.
And this is where this particular little OVA does such a wonderful little job of just going, war is random.
Mm-hmm.
And here you go. Boom. Done. Guy's gone. His character
are messy.
Yep. Absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah. So it's all random, and anything can happen. And so the guy that could be the best soldier on the face of the earth takes a bullet to the brain. That's just how it works. I'm not saying he's the best soldier on earth, but the point
I would love to have seen Aina, her brother, get just beaten down by the vice admiral, just put in his place, not from a royal status kind of like, I'm better than you, but just you need to focus on what's important. Wham! You know what I mean? I would have loved that. Instead, no, we get a tunnel explosion.
Because here's the thing, even though we don't like this guy, he's a jerk. He's misogynist. He's a jerk, and whatever. At his core, what is he? He's a soldier. He takes care of his men. He makes the orders. He makes the decisions. He knows or at least he's confident in what he knows what to do next.
And he is not the first arrogant military officer.
Exactly. Yes.
He cares for his men. He's trying to achieve the goal with as minimum possible casualties as he can get by with, and still get everybody into space. The goal into space, out of this quagmire, up to where they know they can do the thing.
And John, that's an excellent point. He is the one who knows this is the losing proposition that they're in.
Yeah.
He gets it. He understands it. And that's the problem he's trying to solve. Meanwhile, Ina's brother's just like, I'm going around the bend and, no, we're going to win my way. And we're just going to, I'm not sure what the next step is, but not you.
I'll just keep shooting this view screen with the revolver here
until it's empty.
Threaten my sister
with it.
And then blow up the vice admiral. Yeah, everything's coming up me. Okay, sure, dude.
Winning.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag winning. And again, I do kind of appreciate there's this great scene between Ina and Gineas where she confronts him about this, and she goes, "Look, we were told to stop building the machine. You're going against orders. We got to stop this." And he's like, "You really think that if I just leave, everything's gonna be great? That the war is just gonna stop, and you'll get to do whatever you want to? That everything's gonna be wonderful? Like, this is the only clear chance Zeon has for a victory, and he's not wrong."
Yep,
that's the thing. From his perspective, warped as it is, he's like, if we do nothing, things don't get any better. We've got to do something, and we have an absurdly powerful weapon here that we're just going to abandon. That's crazy. We need to get it out there and have it actually do what it's supposed to do.
All right. But doesn't he fall into this megalomaniacal kind of thing where it's like
I have no idea what you're talking
the
about.
Wunderwaffen, of this great technology? It's like, so many people fall into that same trap. It's like, no, we just build the greatest weapon ever, and that will do the thing. It's like, well, the problem is when you build the greatest weapon ever, there's only one. It's like if you could build 100 of them. Then that's the greatest weapon ever. Because if it's super crazy, super powerful, and you can do all these things, there's 100 of them, there's nothing you can do to stop it. One of them, we've already seen, you can stop it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, dude, you can't put all your eggs in one basket because then crap goes wrong.
And then you wind up in a subterranean base and you find yourself shooting at a screen.
Yeah.
And very calmly, because you're beyond the edge of hysterical insanity. You're in the logical area of insanity, which means that everything makes sense to you now, and it doesn't make any sense to anyone else. So everybody else is crazy, but you're calm because you know that.
Right.
And you shoot the thing and you turn around and he just says very calmly, "I think you need to leave now.
Yeah.
I'm done with you. And I think I'm just one shred away from just blowing your brains out right now. So why don't you just walk out the room?"
If Ina hadn't gotten a boyfriend, do you think things would have gone better?
No.
They were on a downward trajectory no matter what.
Yeah.
I also love the imagery of the ending of this whole scene with her and her brother, where he walks off, and we have this shot of her, and we literally have machinery closing in around her.
Yeah.
Like just the symbolism of that, of like, this is exactly, and she's getting more and more distant because it's just, everything is literally closing around her, all around her. And what does she do? She's the only sane one here.
Yep. Interesting part about that, and that I'm looking more at it. Notice she's wearing fatigue-colored pants.
Yeah. Yep.
She's still got a Xeon kind of colored, like slightly off color of her space suit top, but a fatigue bottom.
Yep.
It's like, are we making a visual cue here about, how is this a visual representation of her connection to Shiro and the Federation?
Sure.
Not the Federation itself, but him as a representative of that side. So now she's kind of split.
I'm also realizing something here. As I recall, that's the first visual of that in the scene. Is just the pink top until the final shot. When you realize, okay, she's making her choice.
Yep.
That's great. This is how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. this is how you do it
when you have 3 years worth of time. Let's make her pants pink. No, I have an idea.
Exactly. Love it.
Yeah, I knew there was something funky about, as you were saying, it's like you're drawing out, you're seeing the equipment around it, etc. But it's like it only took seeing that still for a moment where it's like, wait a minute, those are pants like Shiro's.
Yep.
That's the split. That's the split, but in her is, what side is she? Okay, gotcha. Totally gotcha.
Yep.
But off a golf club.
All right. And so, everything will be fine.
Everything's fine. It's just fine. It's okay.
The important part is that all of your friends are fine. Everything's fine.
And we get our ending. So yes, we are building up to the 2-episode finale.
Oh yeah,
episodes 10 through 11, and I mentioned this before. I don't think it's a spoiler. Episode 12 is like all denouement. Like it's all cleanup from the big climax of episodes 10 through 11. So do not think episode 12 is another climax.
Right.
It's all beach episode and bikini.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, very good.
It's Michael aged 65, bitter, smoking a cigarette with whiskey, going, "Damn Shiro." No.
If he's standing over Shiro's grave, looking at it, saying, "Was I a good trooper?" Like, freaking the end of Private Ryan. No, I'm going to cry. No, don't do that to me. Don't do that. Did I live a good life? Oh, God.
Just wait, John. Just wait.
I'm also...
oh, crap. You guys not saying things makes me worry. Come on.
I'm also going to say one thing, not to build this up, but the climax contains what is, for many people, their favorite mecha fight / action scene, like in anime.
Yes, it is.
I
am in that crowd.
I don't know if I call it my favorite, but it is definitely an iconic action scene in Gundam. So just FYI.
If there are Zaku's and Gundams like on ice skating to like some kind of freaking song, I'm gonna freak the hell out.
Dang it, you guessed it. Spoilers.
What the hell's happening now? Oh God, the stroke. It's a stroke, right? I'm having a stroke.
No, it is, without getting into spoilers, it is probably one of, even if it may not be the best mecha fight ever made, it is the best, well choreographed and well made. Like in terms of the animation, the movements, with the logic behind it. They maybe it took them 3 years to sit down to make that particular thing
You're
work
saying
out.
The physics meets up with the expectation.
Perhaps.
Like
sort of
moving around kinetically.
Yeah.
Okay,
remember that scene in Macross, very early on in Macross, when they're fighting next to the SDF and the little hoppers, it's like towards the beginning.
The little Centrati battle pods.
And there was just like that kind of just loving scene of just that entire battle.
Yes, where you see the pod rip apart and the pilot be like, "Ah!"
I actually remind you of Macross Plus when Gould and Isamu finally go at it.
Oh yes, yeah,
kind of like that.
Yeah,
sort of tone and feel and so forth. Kind of thing.
Jeez, I'm looking forward to that.
No, you're gonna enjoy it.
it's fun. And again,
it's good.
Again, don't want to build it up. Don't
Yeah.
you know? It's
No, I'm
too
building
easy
it
to-
up. No, it's appropriate. Let's put it.
It's nicely done. So just look forward to that. That will
It's
be
like that scene in Odd Taxi where somebody gets to the back of the taxi and they drive for like 2 blocks,
just like
and
that.
there's dialogue, and they get out.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
well,
and
that's a
John
thing.
everyone dies. Everyone does.
No, you just no. Don't tell me that. Everybody has to live in love and friendship and everything else, and Sailor Moon, and come on.
Everybody lives, and that's worse.
Oh God, they live with the horror of living. Oh God, no.
Anyway, so we will see more of that next week. Hope you all look forward to that. Meanwhile, take a quick break, just a few minutes. We're back to talk about more modern anime and the latest anime news. There is some news, a lot of anime announcements this week.
In history this week,
there may be some history.
Ooh, nice.
Sweet.
We will be back in a bit. Let's go with that.